I feel like the real relationship, just like if you have a relationship and you just say hi to that person once a week, or you ask for a couple of things throughout the week, that's not much of a relationship. And I realized that the walk in faith is actually having two-way communication. That's getting in your Bible and reading, hearing, and listening, and taking action.
When I hear like the phrase like faith walk, it's not a straight line. It's literally peaks and valleys. It's like some days you're charged up, some days you are just like on your last 1%.
I see more potential out of people than they do out of themselves. Especially sometimes I have a lot of agents who I know they're capable of so much more, and I give them everything I have, and they don't see that potential for themselves. And for me, it's just trying to inspire people to realize that they have a higher potential, especially for believers who believe that God is great and there's a lot of potential, but they don't hit that potential because they don't understand what God can do in their lives.
So when you come across men in your life that they're at the transition point of their lives, where they're just like, I don't know if I can go another step further. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I heard the calling correctly. What is some of the things that you tell them, or that you even tell yourself through that process?
Well, one of the things I tell them is
welcome back to Intentional Movement. Today I have here a good friend of mine that I've been getting to know for the last couple of months. Amazing man of God, but also an amazing business owner and entrepreneur. He has been just moving and connecting not only his clients to great resources and solutions for their businesses, but also the community as well too. So he is known as definitely a great connector in the Inland Empire. So today I want to introduce Nick Paez.
Pleasure to be on your show. Thank you very much.
So for the audience that doesn't know you, can you tell them a little bit about your business name, but also what you do and how you do it?
Sure. My main business is Alliance Strategic Insurance Solutions. We do employee benefits, business to business, anything that has to do with benefits, health insurance, dental, vision, supplemental, life insurance strategies for businesses and their employees. I also run the IE Mastermind, which is a passion project that I started in 2019. And it's just been a great resource for local businesses to expand their mindset of what's possible, make great collaborations. And yeah, that's a little bit about what I do.
Perfect. So now we've gotten the housekeeping out the way. Now we can dive into the conversation. So what I want to know, and this is the purpose of this podcast here, is to talk about the journey, like your intentional movements to where you're at today, but also where you want to go as well too. So we were talking a little bit off camera about what would you say is the theme of your journey, the theme of your business, the theme of your walk?
Well, I've been called for a long time to develop leaders for all around the world. How I'm going to exactly do that, I don't know, but I just know I have that calling. And the IE Mastermind group and even my business is an extension of that calling to help leaders tap into their highest potential of what's possible for their lives, and just kind of support that journey along the way. And the way I'm doing it right now is through the IE Mastermind group, just connecting great people. I see, and that's a challenge sometimes. I see more potential out of people than they do out of themselves. Especially sometimes I have a lot of agents who I know they're capable of so much more, and I give them everything I have, and they don't see that potential for themselves. And for me, it's just trying to inspire people to realize that they have a higher potential, especially for believers who believe that God is great and there's a lot of potential, but they don't hit that potential because they don't understand what God can do in their lives.
So these are conversations I love to have. So as it pertains to potential, purpose, and a calling, do you feel as if you feel as if they know what their calling is, or do you feel as if they struggle with the weight of it?
Yeah, I don't think everybody feels that calling. And I think that's a struggle with people because, without that calling, it's kind of hard to know which direction to go. But one thing that's really helped me in my life is, as a believer, we have the biggest calling, eternal calling is, go and make disciples of all nations. And in a way that could be a purpose. Even if you don't have a purpose, that's a purpose that's eternal. I was having a conversation with a great gentleman not too long ago. And he said, we can do whatever we want in this world. It doesn't matter anyway at the end of our lifetime. And that's kind of limited thinking. When you have an eternal purpose, man, like every single day is so exciting because not only are we changing one person's lives in this lifetime, but for eternity.
So, in your walk as a leader, but also within your business and leading other individuals, what is like a conversation that you've had with an agent or a client that at first it seemed surface level, but it was that much more impactful to them? Like it was so much more of an intentional process.
Well, one of the newer agents that I brought on board, great guy, very friendly. He's had a 20-year career selling mattresses. He's been doing really good at it. But once I kind of talked with him and inspired him that there's more out there, he started getting excited and inspired of what's possible. And one of the things that kind of shifted in him is realizing that he doesn't have to like have a W-2 job. He doesn't have to have this schedule where that fluctuates, and he rarely sees his wife. But kind of how we're structuring it, where he can create his own schedule, but at the same time, Monday through Friday, and be able to have knowing that there's no limit on what's possible for his life.
So, where do you feel as if that came from? I know you were a Marine as well too. How long did you serve, and do you take any principles out of that chapter of your life into your business now?
Yeah, so I served in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I did the reserves route, but that actually changed my life. It gave me structure and habits, and don't stop until the mission is accomplished type mindset. And that's pretty much how I do business. I don't stop until the job's done. No matter how many hours it takes, no matter how tough it gets, whatever obstacles come in front of us, we just figure out a way around it. Just like MacGyver, you figure out how to jimmy rig it to make it work, and just do it.
So when you wake up in the morning, right? I've gotten the honor to meet your wife, and you guys talked a little bit about your children as well too. When you are in the path of being a leader of your home, and then a leader in your business, and then a leader in the community, do you ever feel as if like the calling or the vision for your life is a little bit heavy? And what do you do in those instances when those thoughts come into your mind?
Yeah, that thought comes to my mind a lot, but I realize that you can only control yourself, and everything else is going to follow. You can only be the best that you can be of who you've been called to. But I learned also that no matter how much faith you have, you still need to have discipline. You still need to push yourself. You need to stretch yourself past the limit of what you think is possible in this moment. And the only way to do it is surround yourself with people who break that lid, who surround yourself that make you feel uncomfortable in the room with them, because they're pushing limits, and then that only allows you to push your own limits. And as you push your limits, the people surrounding you, like for example, my family, they start pushing their limits. They start realizing that, man, my dad, he's actually doing some things that maybe if I do some of the things that he told me, maybe I can do that as well. So it's just being an example to yourself. But then if you keep pushing your own limits, people surrounding you is going to kind of grow as a result.
Absolutely, because we talked when we first connected. We talked about Ironman. We talked about a lot of other competitions and stuff. How does that mix into everything that you're doing too? And it's like, do you still have that itch to compete?
I always have the itch to compete. It's just do I have the time to do it? The reason I put those things on my calendar is to have that thing that you're reaching for, striving for. Because life gets so busy, if you don't put it on your calendar, if you don't put it on your to-do list, it's not going to get done a lot of the times. So I like putting big things on my calendar. Like for example, you did the what's it called, so the Spartan races, and had all that, and you put it on the calendar. You just train for it and start stretching yourself and training. It's a good feeling, knowing to accomplish it, but also like pushing towards something. And same thing for the Ironman. It was something that it was on my bucket list to put on my calendar or to do in my life. And just being able to train for it, it takes a lot of time. But when you're done with it, you realize, oh man, if I can do that, I can do anything. And then even in the moment of doing the Ironman and doing 2.4 miles swim and then 112-mile bike ride and then doing a full marathon, even halfway through that marathon where you're like, dude, I'm done.
Yeah.
And pushing past that mental thing in your mindset. There was a time I was counting to 100 over and over and over again just to get past that, all the self-negative talk that was in my mind. But once you get past that mentally, you can accomplish anything when you put your mind to something.
I'm smiling over here because I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, it's those things are needed in addition to the creation of any business, creation of any life that's intentional and purposeful and really a walk of faith. It's that aspect of stretching your capacity overall, you know, and like you were saying, like when you're in the middle of competition, last year I completed all of the Spartan races. I went crazy, you know, even up to the Spartan Ultra. And I remember in the middle of it was like mile 18, you're going through different peaks and valleys and stuff like that. Mile 18 of it was 32 miles and 60 obstacles. And when I got to the 18 was the transition point, right? That was the moment where people didn't come out of the transition camp. They were like, I'm done. Like literally I saw people just like half of the competition just dropped off right there. So when you come across men in your life that they're at the transition point of their lives where they're just like, I don't know if I can go another step further. I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I heard the calling correctly. What is some of the things that you tell them or that you even tell yourself through that process?
Well, one of the things I tell them is, I just kind of help them refine what they heard or what their calling is and why they started in the first place. A lot of times, if they don't recall or remember their reason why the why is more powerful than what they're doing. So there's been multiple people through the mastermind group who, they're struggling through business, but then I remind them what their why is, and they tell me and they explain it, and that passion starts building up again. And at the end of the day, it's all about the reason why we're doing things. If we forget that reason why and we're just going through the motions, of course, it's going to feel a lot more heavier as we're doing it. So I feel like that's kind of one of the things to remember is your reason why.
Do you feel as if that the reason why people get stuck more often than not within their walk, is it because they fear the challenge or they have not they haven't welcomed the challenge?
Yeah, I think they haven't really, one of my mentors told me, you got to count the costs. You got to count the costs before you take that big jump. And a lot of times they haven't thought about all the things that it takes in order to accomplish that big goal. And part of the journey is the challenge. You get refined in your challenges. The person that you want to become is on the other side of all those challenges. And whenever you're going through a challenge, rather than saying, oh man, I got to get past this challenge, or man, I'm going through this or that, you just have to know that challenge is refining you to be that next person that get to that next level. And so you don't look at it as challenges, you just look at it as refinement.
Absolutely. And so it's like the growth is in the calling.
Exactly.
But so many people don't want to pick up that call. And so when everybody has their own way of dealing with this, right? There's sometimes I want something more than what other people want for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm at the old age of 34, and I'll tell you right now, for me, I just don't got time or energy for that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like if you do what you want to do. If you like it, I love it. So for me, I'm kind of like hands off, but that's not for everybody. For you, do you feel as if like you want to go the extra mile for them, or what have you learned?
Yeah, there's a limit. So, I mean, if people don't learn after a couple of times, I stop being surrounded by them, because at the same time, just like those people need positive energy and people to pull them up, they can also pull you down as well. And if you keep surrounding yourself with people who either are limited and don't want to change, or they don't believe in themselves, and you can only pour so much into people before they start pouring you down or pulling you down. And so, I try to uplift anybody I can and inspire anybody I can, but it only goes so far. Then you got to just suggest you need to surround yourself with people that are going to help you, because you want to kind of limit your surrounding with those type of people.
So your faith walk, right? when I hear like the phrase like faith walk,
Mhm.
it's not a straight line.
No.
It's literally peaks and
Yeah.
valleys. It's like some days you're charged up, some days you are just like on your last 1%,
Yeah.
right? For you, can you recall a time where you were on your last 1% where you were just like, Lord, I don't know.
Oh, I can recall many times. Um, there was a time when I just started the insurance business. You know, I walked away from a very successful career as an operations manager for a hospital food service department. You know, making almost $100,000 a year, having a family with a house and kids, and all those things. And walking away from that was hard because there was a lot of pressure on my shoulders. And getting into a commission-only industry, that you need to perform in order just to make it. And I had a lot of great months. I was actually one of the top salespeople in Southern California for that company at the time. And then, you know, I have this high, and then all of a sudden you're in this valley. And I just remember days that I would go out and just wander, like just drive around, because I couldn't get that courage to, you know, keep knocking on doors. And after a while, like the mental thoughts kept, you know, even though I had faith and I know God was with me, it's just I didn't think it was possible anymore. And I started all this negative self-talk. And once your mind kind of gets in that cycle, it keeps like bringing you down and down and down. And I wanted to give up, but I couldn't give up because I walked away from a career. My wife and my family was counting on me. But just that pressure in that moment is just like, it's almost gets you into depression. And so, you know, thanks to God that I just continued through that, and to refine me to that next level, as we were talking about earlier. But yeah, I've had many times, especially as an entrepreneur, a business owner, there's times that beat you down, and you have to just start over the next day, just praying to God, please help me. So
Yes. Okay. So in those moments where you're praying to God and you're saying, help me, what were some of the signs and things that you had to do in between the help me?
the biggest thing was just kind of go back to the basics. As far as the faith part is just believing. You know, I feel that God puts a vision in your mind of what's possible for your life. The way that that connects is faith and action. You could have the faith all you want to say, yeah, someday I'm going to do this, but if you don't take any action, nothing's going to happen. So yeah, I just know that you have to take massive action. You have to do the uncomfortable things. And at the same time, you need faith. You can take a ton of action, but if you don't have the faith that it's going to work, you can just be spinning your wheels.
Oh, man, I think I heard of this week that, you know, a lot of times we're waiting on God's timing, but God's waiting for you to get in position.
Mm.
And it's like, how have you seen that once you were in position, things started to accelerate for you?
Oh, well, that's right now in the business. So I started my insurance brokerage probably about 5 years ago now as a solopreneur. And about a year ago in the mastermind group, I came across my current business partner now, Alejandra. And at the time, I was so like in the weeds putting on this huge expo, the Infinite Growth Expo 2, that I didn't want to like talk or think about any partnerships or anything like that. But after the expo, you know, we had a conversation. I realized that we're both in alignment of our core values, our faith, of what we really wanted to build and develop. And both of us agreed that, you know, we're going to put you know, God at the forefront of the business. That's going to be God's business. And since we were in alignment, amazing things have happened in just a very short period of time, probably not even more than 6 months. We've been able to like triple the size of our business. We have about 15 agents right now, and you know, God's doing amazing things. And it's only by faith and action and knowing that we're in alignment that it's possible. Like I know I couldn't have done that myself, even with just a business partner. But I think that's you can see like how faith and action like really can develop.
So it's interesting. Like, so earlier I was doing this talk at this Christian private school,
Yeah.
high schoolers, and they're asking me questions about business and all these different aspects. And so we got into the topic of expectations, right?
Hmm.
There's so many people right now, they are wanting to grow the business or they're in the middle of a valley within their business and they're stuck.
Yeah.
What did it actually tangibly look like to get in alignment with God?
I say it's going back to the basics. I mean, in my journey, I realize, prayer only goes so far. I feel like the real relationship, just like if you have a relationship and you just say hi to that person once a week, or you ask for a couple of things throughout the week, that's not much of a relationship. And I realized that the walk in faith is actually having two-way communication. That's getting in your Bible and reading, and hearing, and listening, and taking action. And I find that one of the biggest things that has helped me is just being quiet and listening. I used to think meditation was like a hokey pokey type of, Eastern medicine type thing. But when I just sat and started meditating, just listening to my breath and just taking that silence, you hear a lot of things. You hear things that you need to take action on. You hear things that maybe you're not looking at or you need to do. And then once you hear that voice or that, I call it the Holy Spirit whispering to you, you got to take action on that voice, no matter how uncomfortable it may seem. And I feel that's where a lot of times is, that's where it starts. And having that relationship going both ways and getting in your Bible, I feel is important.
Absolutely. There was we actually talked about it in the men's group on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
That we're both a part of. And there was a man in the Bible where he went up to a mountain and he's waiting to hear God speak to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible says that there was an earthquake, there was a fire, and then there was a mighty wind. And it said God was not in either of these, any of them. But then the voice of God came in a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, though the earthquake, the wind, the fire, all those different things, those represent like the things, our expectations, the distractions that we think God is in. But God is not a big sound; it's a whisper. Yeah. But you have to tune your hearing to hear Him.
100%. Yep.
So for you, your business is in alignment. You are growing.
Mm-hmm.
What are the challenges that you feel that are coming along within that?
Well, one of the challenges I know I'm still working on, and that's something that I need to work through, is feeling that I'm not doing enough at the end of each day. Knowing that God at the end of the day, He's orchestrating things and He's giving me that vision. I just do as much as I can. That's all I can do. But one thing actually that came to fruition, I fasted 3 days this week, and just kind of looking back and reflecting is no matter how hard I work, it's not on my timing, it's on God's timing. And I can't expect so much. I can't expect what I want to expect out of the day. I can only do so much, and God's going to take care of the rest. So that's one thing I'm working on, is just feel like that I'm not doing enough every single day. But still grinding, but just know that at the end of each day, I did all I can, and I leave the rest up to God.
It's always funny, like, where do you feel as if we get that expectations? Because I'm just as ambitious as you, and it's like that word expectation is just, it comes up so much through our actions, through our thoughts, through our conversations overall. So where do you feel as if your expectations came from?
I don't know if it was you or somebody else recently that I talked to. I feel like certain people are just chosen. We did have that. Okay, we did, and you just have a calling on your life that you feel different than other people. Why? Like, I'm an all or nothing type of guy. I'm all in, and I do 110%. And people are like, oh, why are you so crazy? Why are you like working out twice a day and all this stuff? And I just think certain people just have that drive, and they're chosen or called to do something greater than just the average Joe, I guess.
Absolutely. It's essentially like this year. I talked about it during the group, it was like this year when I was going through like a valley. My mother always say, "Oh, just give it all to God, give it all to God, give it all to God." But the reality is, I felt as if I had.
Yeah.
I'd given my relationships, I'd given my business, I'd given my money, I've given all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that, as I sat down and reflected the most, that was more of an idol to me was my expectations.
Mm.
What I was supposed to have, when I was supposed to have it, where I was supposed to be. And all these expectations, they were heavier because they actually dictated my behaviors and my actions.
Mm.
Nothing else pulled me except my expectations. So I gave my expectations to God, but my vision was still healthy, but the expectations is what was holding me down. So once I gave that up, that's when I felt as if like the light switched on.
Wow, that's
and good. I felt lighter in my walk because there was a season where I was like, Lord, like, am I not supposed to take care of my family? Mm-hmm. Lord, like, am I not supposed to have this? I'm not supposed to do this. And it was like, I'm literally blaming God for things that, of course, you're supposed to do those things. Mm-hmm. But there's some things that you need to be taught first. Yeah. There's some things I need you to walk through. Some things I need you to understand and unlearn as well too. And so for me, it was that weight of expectations that was heaviest on me. Mm-hmm. And so for you, the next chapter. So you're in a good position. You understand the challenges and the obstacles that are ahead of you. Yeah. You've counted the cost. What's next?
Well, there's a couple of things that are next. I mean, there's a lot of things that are in the works, and some big moves are happening, especially with the IE Mastermind group, to gain more exposure and make some bigger collaborations. And I know that's in the works, and I'm not putting pressure, or I'm just kind of allowing that to happen. I've been praying for clarity and to close any doors that are supposed to be closed and open any doors that are supposed to be opened, just to make sure I'm moving in the right direction with the right people. But for the insurance business, I know it's the ball's rolling, and now bigger things are happening. And for me right now, it's just being consistent, putting in the work. We hired a consultant to give some insight and take some action. So we're doing what he says. But at the end of the day, it's just putting in the work and just going after that calling to, we have some big goals for the agency, and just put in faith and realize it's not our business, it's God's business. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think there's a lot of actionable steps in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question is this, right? For you, not the business.
Yeah.
What is some intentional steps that you want to take next?
My intentional steps for my personal self is just to continue to refine myself as far as my walk with Christ. Really develop myself in the Bible, because one thing I learned recently, kind of putting pressure on me, like, I need to teach my kids more and stuff like that. And then I realized that it's not that pressure that I'm putting on them. Is I have to be an example for myself, and they're going to follow. So it's just refining myself. And then one of the biggest things, other than like that part, is physically. I think once you can refine yourself and have a physique where you're comfortable in, and proud of I know that I can tweak my diet a lot more in order to have the body that I want. So that's kind of like my next level, to really push myself physically, to kind of refine my body, because I know everything else kind of follows. I don't know if that's worldly, but I think that will get me, I don't know.
You have to specialize in you.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. Man, thank you so much for coming.
Man. Thank you for having me.
Take us out, Jay.